So we move inexorably onwards, in more ways than one. In fact, the eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed that Andy has shifted with the procession of the sun there. I think.
Indeed, we're on a roughly north-south orientation here, and people who know about these things guess from the angle what time of day we're recording this. But, yeah.
Well, which way is east and west, though? For you, is east sort of behind you?
Put it this way: I'm sat on the west side of my computer talking to you now.
Okay.
So yes, yeah, more or less. Yeah.
There must be.
So the procession of the sun really is over the computer, over the top of the computer.
I see. Miniature little bit.
Who needs the heels? Who needs the heel stone and trilithians?
Indeed, micro monumental archaeology going on there. But we move on now to a story that I just can't stop laughing about, and in the nicest, best possible way. I just can't stop giggling. So I'm just going to say it. Okay, are you ready? Okay. Yep. Straight face. Volunteers polish giant's erection by hand.
And while you're saying that, I'm watching them actually do it.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
Perhaps we should explain very quickly before we have to add 18 certificates for this particular watching brief. What we're actually talking about is a bunch of National Trust volunteers re-chalking the outline of the Cerne Abbas giant in Dorset.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Who is famous for having a very well-developed male appendage.
It brings a whole new meaning to being a member of the National Trust. Hey!
Ouch.
But yes, the Cerne Abbas giant is an interesting monument, which at various points in its history has been seen as either prehistoric or not. Now, do you know what the current thinking is on when possibly this piece of charcoal was made?
This happens to be something, and again, we've had two delightful stories. We've had the Norwich Helter Skelter, and now Cerne Abbas giant. Cerne Abbas giant is one of my favourite things in the English countryside.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone that hasn't seen it, it's a giant hill figure of a naked male figure with a huge phallus.
Mm-hmm.
On a hillside above the village of Cerne Abbas in Dorset. In his right hand, he has a very large club. It's rather cartoon-like, almost childlike, actually. But it's the current thinking, and it's been the subject of a lot of controversy over the years. It's been seen as prehistoric. It's been seen as Roman.
Yes.
Now, the favourite origin, given that it's not actually attested before the 18th century, really, is that it was actually a political caricature, probably done on the instructions of the Lord of the Manor of Cerne, who was a man called Denzil Hollis, who was a parliamentarian, but not a big fan of Oliver Cromwell.
Right.
And the story is that basically this is a huge a satirical dig at Oliver Cromwell, maybe suggesting he was a bit of a dick.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. And a bit is no exaggeration. No, sorry. That's not a comment about Cromwell. Rather to say the size of this phallus is 36 feet. It's quite impressive. Is that 6, decently tall human beings long? That's yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, go on.
No, I mean, you can't. You can't make up. You can't make any of this up. Actually, I mean, it's one of the National Trust's sort of headline monuments. Really, it's absolutely unmistakable. It makes for a great photograph.
Yes.
Yes. It was actually. I'm looking at the history of it here while we're talking. During World War II, they actually had to camouflage it they had to cover it with brushwood, so that it couldn't be seen from the air in case it was used as a landmark by the Luftwaffe. So I'm not quite sure what the figures where he's actually pointing. Shall we say?
Where is he pointing?
It seems to be something very, something top secret, 'cause it's pretty close to all the military bases on Salisbury Plain and in the west of England. So who knows what the giant was pointing at? They had to make him turn him into a top secret hill figure.
But I'd be so interested to walk in that direction. But I suppose on a serious note, it does this story really does highlight something that's always interested me about these chalk figures. So there's things like the Uffington horse. Were you saying the other day that there's a kiwi somewhere that's done for Anzac?
Oh, well, this is the thing. Above Bulford Camp on Salisbury Plain, there's a kiwi that was cut by obviously the badge of New Zealand, which was cut by the New Zealand soldiers during the First World War, and that is now rechalked every year. By New Zealanders and their friends and families and so on to keep the tradition up. So this culture of hill figures is an ancient one, and in fact it's now known from archaeology that the two probably best known figures after the Uffington horse. Uffington horse is pretty much accepted to be dating from the pre-Roman Iron Age now. But the two other most famous ones, Cerne Abbas giant that we're talking about, and also another one in Sussex. It's famously painted by the artist Eric Ravilius, the Long Man of Wilmington. Both of those are actually post-medieval.
Well, and I suppose the point being that no matter when these were done, whether it's relatively recent like Anzac, Kiwi memorialisation, or post-medieval or pre-Roman Iron Age, what we're looking at, and this story is all about really, ongoing curation. People deciding to revisit and renew these sites such that they're not lost, and without this ongoing curation in the landscape, people choosing to turn up and get rid of weeds, for example, or replace broken up chalk, they would be lost relatively quickly. And this is something I've always found interesting. No matter how old these things are, they are an expression of people appropriating, renewing their relationship with, and reaffirming their local sense of pride in these giant. Are they technically petroglyphs or not? I can't quite.
No, a petroglyph is strictly speaking on something cut on stone, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, well, this is just exposing stone.
An arbor. I mean, again, a colleague in conflict archaeology who's been studying arbor-glyphs, which are the carvings on trees.
Yes.
Which are very, many. I mean, it's fallen out of fashion now, particularly because we're discouraged from carrying knives. But certainly, when I was a kid, people would carve their initials on trees, and even messages. And obviously, particularly during wartime, soldiers would, bored soldiers would carve their initials, their unit number, their service numbers or whatever on trees and bits of wood, and that's now a subject for study. So I think the underlying thing here is as human beings, we like to make our mark on the landscape. In the same way that a dog might scent mark on when you take it for a walk, we like to say we're here. We're here. I'm here. Or make a comment. Graffiti. In a sense, Cerne Abbas giant. But in the reading, if Squire Hollis was responsible for it, it's a giant piece of graffiti.
Yeah, well, but also this is the other thing as well that I always think of when I see him is it's universal to draw phalluses. Everyone seems to want to draw a willy.
Well, do you remember? Do you remember a while back we did a watching brief piece about the Roman quarry in the Lake District, which had where the carvings, including rude comments about the officers and phalluses and so on, were carved. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they're all over the place as well. And so I just like that. I like that aspect of this story. And apparently, in this instance, it seems that roughly every 10 years, renewal is required on this monument, and long may it continue. A mighty statement in the landscape.
Absolutely. But I think what's wonderful about what it does show as well is that even long after the original origin or the original reason for something like this being made, and certainly in the case of the White Horse of Uffington, long after the religious reasons, the ritual reasons which we assume would lie behind it, or tribal reasons have been forgotten. These things are still regarded as important. They become almost sort of guardians of the past, a link to the past, something that we can. We were talking about continuity in DNA and population earlier. These things are continuums. And they appear, for whatever reason, people appear to continue to think they're important, and we get, we can hopefully, every 10 years we'll have a similar story about Cern Abbas.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so, and I can only hope that people continue to be amused as well. I hope no one. Yeah, I hope we don't get.
I think it's wonderful again that we can be open and laugh about this.
Yeah.
I think it's a healthy culture where we can do that. I actually when this story first broke, I'm tweeting that okay, this is all come about. It's the National Trust doing a press release about a story during the silly season about a story they know. It's in a sense it's clickbait, but what the heck in this case, because. As I said, sort of paraphrasing Churchill, never in the field of care of the historic environment has so much been added to the gaiety of the nation by so few.
Yeah, absolutely.